This is kind of the time of year where I start to sit down and look at trying to build out my strategies for 2023. And some of the things that I look at are not only the diversification, but also the aspect of how we might be able to look at different tokens going forward. So we're going to get into a lot of that today and dive in deep. We'll do a portfolio analysis for you guys, do some of that, as well as just kind of give you a rundown of some of the tokens that I'm looking at for sure. All right, guys, let's get into it. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Making sure that the crypto pit is okay over there. Yeah, okay. Oh, this thing, yeah. Well, you guys can kind of see. We got wires hanging all over me. So it's a normal day here because it's getting ready to be. Technically, it was the champagne that we just had. So Happy New Year's to you guys. Hopefully you're getting ready for a big one out there. Let's break into some of the tokens that I'm going to be looking at for 2023. And let me kind of give you guys a little bit of a baseline of how I put together at least my strategy. Again, this is not financial advice, not something that I'm saying go out and buy these tokens. This is the way I do it. If you guys like it, great. Hopefully it can give you a little bit of insight of how to think about projects and also how to think about balancing portfolios, because this is something that I did throughout the year. And listen, everybody took a black eye this year on a lot of different tokens. I went through a whole process of tax loss harvesting this year on quite a few tokens, of which we sold it in some cases at dire losses. And sometimes, it was a situation that we just felt like this is something that we've got to go ahead and take now, deal with the ramifications as we go into 2023, to kind of reset the table. Also, the other thing that you have to look at is when you're investing in high-risk assets, and that's what crypto is. If you're investing in high-risk assets, it should be a very, very small portion of your overall portfolio. Now, whatever that's cash, bonds, stocks, equities, real estate, whatever that might be, businesses, that's okay, because the key here is that you want a diverse portfolio. You don't want to get caught in any one single place, including too much cash, because right now I think a lot of people, we've been talking about getting into cash positions because there's going to be some opportunities, but even that to a certain extent can also be high risk. So you've got to be able to diversify cash as well. And I don't know if you guys are getting into precious metals or any of that. I'm just kind of curious on the audience. Let me know down in the comments below, and I'd love to kind of get kind of some feedback there. I want to start off with a couple of things that we have had on the portfolio for quite some time, and a few projects that are starting to climb the charts, at least on my target zones of potential, targets for 2023. Some of which I own these tokens currently, the typicals. I'll identify them here in a minute. Some of which I have on my watch list of going ahead and waiting for that perfect potential opportunity to grab some. And some of these are more long-term positions, and then some are swing and short-term positions. So we'll talk about all that today. If you like these kinds of videos, make sure and smash the like button. It is one of the ways that we get feedback from you, our audience. But it's also a good way to understand, what you guys are interested in. I mean, it's if you like portfolio videos, or if you're looking at more of the breakdown analysis on tokens and these interview types that we do with CEOs, I always want feedback from our audience because that really kind of directs our editorial content here on the show. Obviously, we stay up with all the news. We give you that on an ongoing basis. But for those special videos like this one, always love to get your feedback. So let's start off with Polygon. And some people are looking at Polygon, and you look at it, from the sense of where it's been and where it might go. Currently, it's setting up in the range of around that 75-cent range. And I think this is one of those areas where Polygon right now is probably not going to see a rally, but we will most likely see some adjustments with Polygon. And you've heard me talk about Polygon quite a bit, in the sense of just what they've been able to do over time. And, I won't go into Polygon analysis because we've done many of those. But this is one of my big targets that I'm looking at for sure. But just for some of you, maybe you're not, maybe you're new to crypto. Just so you know, Polygon is a layer 2 scaling solution. Just coming from off this website, it's basically for Ethereum. If you guys understand anything about Ethereum, this is kind of pretty much the next generation of what the internet will run on. ETH, of course, has some pretty interesting positions right now because of what it could do with ZK rollups and the potential of ZK syncs. And all of this plays into how a layer 2 works. And what it simply means is the ability to run more transactions at lower cost, less gas fees. That's kind of the situation that ETH is in right now. The possibility of ETH solving that problem is real. If it does, is it possible that Polygon could run into some issues? Sure, yes. So this is one of the reasons, just like if you're investing in stocks, real estate, any kind of asset that is volatile. When I say volatile, meaning market manipulated through movement or fundamentals or sentiment, you have to always pay attention. So that's what I would recommend that you guys do around Polygon. Another one that I'm looking at is Cosmos. Now Cosmos, and by the way, if you guys are not following their blogs, this is the Cosmos blog right here. I always take a look at any project that I invest in. I always will run through their blog, their Medium, their Substack, whatever it is, and take a look at where they're going. And as you can see here, Cosmos, not done a lot of updates here recently. This was the last one. I think they've kind of tuned out for the holidays, but they are kind of this idea of this whole concept around game of chains, the concept that many people have looked at Cosmos as being a potential rival to Ethereum. Now, with the fact that we see some challenges with Solana, who are the winners going to be? That's kind of the big pick I'm watching right now. And we've had the Cosmos team on our show before. They've talked a lot about their development strategy over time and their roadmap. And when you look at their roadmap and kind of where they're going for the potential of really trying to level up to what Ethereum has been able to do over the past, several years, this might be one of those projects that could be an outlier that might be on the run. So just be paying attention to Cosmos. It's going to be one that we'll continue to watch very closely. Another one that I like is, and again, we've had this one on the show many times, is Algorand. And Algorand is a project that I've been in and out of. I've decided to put it on my watch list again this year for potential acquisition. Reason being is, when you look at what that team has done and is trying to do, is pretty significant. I was just looking at their blog here. A lot of this is around the whole aspects of the concept of ESG, environmental sustainable governance, simply meaning it's green, carbon negative, in fact. That, along with the potential of what this chain might be able to do long term, of being able to get into some partnerships and do some interesting things around proof of stake, obviously, in their framework. They've got a lot around their aspect of where it might go in terms of partnerships. They had a little deal with the FIFA World Cup scenario. That is where I think Algorand needs to really improve. And if they can improve their partnerships and continue to grow, again, I think these are the times when we see these bear markets like this, where you do see the potential of some of these projects really kind of starting to separate from the pack. Another one that I'm watching is the Arweave project. And Arweave, if you're not familiar with it, Arweave, basically think of it as cloud. If you think of cloud storage, and that's really one of the biggest business models out there right now in Web 2. And Web 3, Arweave, Filecoin, others like that, are eventually going to play a huge role in what this might look like. So data storage. And I think as we see more integration into data storage for Web3 integrations and crypto integrations in general, I think Arweave starts to potentially jump in. They just got their release of a seal of performance. They've been permanent storage now available on Avalanche. These are all just recent news pops that they've put on their blog, now natively available also in Polygon. So these kinds of significant moves by Arweave are, in my opinion, some of the groundwork elements that you have to do as a startup. And as you start to win those kinds of scenarios, there's some good possibilities for what that future holds. This was basically just a quick overview on Filecoin. Filecoin being the other one, it's kind of the OG of the space. But that's another one that when you look at it, this is coming from Masari, you know, in terms of the ecosystems that will start to build around some of these data storage solutions. I think for Web3, this is going to be a big one going into it for sure. Yeah, that's right. There's a couple out there that, you know, like that we don't have on here. I won't say a bunch of names for you because it kind of can sometimes confuse everyone. But anyway, let's get into a couple of the strategies that I'm using because I've got two layers here. And we modify this based on fundamentals, sentiment. As you guys know, we really lean a lot on where sentiment strategies are moving because I feel like that has probably the most impact on how people trade in and out of tokens. So that's our, you know, if you don't know about our CPI, it's our power index. It's basically a sentiment weighted scale across about 50 tokens right now that we look at on a daily basis throughout the week. We drop 3 times a week for new sentiment data. And to me, this is kind of the future of where you'll be able to at least get some sort of indicator. Of course, you've got to look at the fundamentals. You also have to look at the TA side of it if you're a charter, or follow, you know, channels that really do some really good chart analysis out there. But I want to get to the portfolio. And currently, this is the layout of it. And this is what I'm currently putting in the early strategy of 2023. And I kind of break these down into risk level. For me, low, medium is about as good as it gets in the space of crypto. Bitcoin, ETH, and MATIC are really kind of my bigger players here. XRP comes in as a medium high for me. Also Algorand, Cosmos, as I mentioned earlier. And then also Hedera. This is another one that I'm very interested in. I've been in and out of Hedera throughout the year, but I think if we see some more price suppression, Hedera might make an opportunity here. I have it as in a very small position, but it is one that I am looking at right now to add to the basket for 2023. And then Arweave, I feel like this again too is a really strong one in that area. Then I get into my extreme list, and that of course is Sandbox, which I do like, and I've continued to hold portions of Sandbox. I did take some tax loss harvesting on Sandbox. I took tax loss harvesting on Gala. I took tax loss harvesting on Axie, many of which, you know, these are now just being affected by the overall market scenarios. Now, will they come back? Yes, it's possible that all of these projects will continue to do well. I feel like all of them are very solid. It's just not something that I'm trading, at least in the front end of 2023, in the first few months, because this will balance itself out. I'll pull tokens in and out, and I do have a target list for some swing trades that we'll go into. Back to the list here, Near Protocol is another one that I feel is still on the extreme list, meaning extreme risk. OMI is one I felt like would do really well this year. It just has not broken out, but I feel like what Vivi is doing, it just is intriguing to me. Now, I'm into digital collectibles. You may not be. But I feel like that, along with where the NFT strategies are going to go around with brands, OMI's going to just be in the right place at the right time. Then, of course, we got Chainlink in here. Very solid project. Been around for quite a while, and I feel like it, even though it's I don't necessarily call it an extreme level risk. Some people love this token and hold a large amount of it. For me, yeah, I just have it on my extreme risk level. And then XCAD, I talked about this one in our Web3 video yesterday. I still am intrigued with what XCAD might do around, you know, creator tools and this whole watch to earn space and what that might look like. It may be also very early. It's also why it's a very small position. But I am interested in these kind of tokens. Now, I did this last year with a high-risk portfolio during the heyday of when Metaverse was really popping off. And we did fantastic. And that's kind of what I've kind of relate this portfolio to. It's not quite as broad and as risk tolerant right now, but I'm starting to open up to more risk as we continue to see the market slide. These are not all positions that I currently hold. If you guys want to kind of learn a little about what I do there, feel free, jump in our Diamond Circle. We share some of it there. Some of it we'll do here on the show. We do a lot in our mastermind group. And that's where I get into entries, where I'm thinking at in terms of targets for like things like Algorand, Hedera, Arweave, I'm in and out on, kind of like on Render. I'll talk about Render in a minute. Sandbox, what I might be looking at if I was going to do a new acquisition on Sandbox, other than the small amount that I currently hold. And the same thing with Near Protocol, which I've been in and out on with Near Protocol. And we've had some pretty good gains on some of those on swing trades. So some of these were on my swing list this year. And we'll just bring that portfolio back up just so you guys can get a quick look at it. This is a breakdown again. Really, obviously holding a large amount of Bitcoin, ETH, and MATIC. Those are really my big ones. I may move a little bit out of ETH and MATIC and try to move into some more high-risk tokens, only because I have a high-risk tolerance for some of these new up-and-coming projects. And there's a handful of them that I'm still on the watch list, but I have not put them in my portfolio watch list yet. We'll talk about that mainly after we get through the first FOMC meeting, which will help give us a little bit of guidance throughout the rest of the year, mainly from a macro standpoint, because macro has so much bearing, as you guys know. Studying international politics and macroeconomics, we bring a lot of experts on the show, and I'll show you a clip here in a minute of Darius Dale. He was on with us yesterday, and he made a good statement, and I want you guys to think about it when I play it for you. But anyway, let's get over to the swings and my speculation list. And this is the list I currently have. Now this will grow as well. I've got Render on there, obviously. We know what's going on with Render and Helium. That's the HNT token right there underneath it. Obviously those are very tied to what's happening in the Solana layer. Sushi comes in, I feel like just from a DEX position, this is one that might play into it for some potential swings and speculation. Aave, Quant, I've never bought this token, but I've got really close a couple of times. And I'm still in and out of this position. I'm trying to learn a lot more about how their strategy and what their project does from a sense of roadmap and what it might implement into in the future, because I feel like any of these ISO tokens, I'm intrigued with what they're doing. And there's a few of those that kind of play into that. Stellar's in that list, Algo's in that list, there's a couple others. Avalanche, you know, I've been a big fan of Avalanche throughout last year. We exited our Avalanche position. We talked about it here on the show quite a bit. But we also made a lot of money with Avalanche last year. So it was a good token. It was one of the big wins for us in terms of trading swings. BNB, another token that we were able to swing last year and did pretty decent. And then Veracity is another one that's kind of new. I've dabbled in this one and I've lost money on it. But at the same time, I look at where this might go and what it might do. You know, it gets back into those very speculative scenarios when some of these early stage projects are just, in some cases, just too early. But at the same time, if you look back at some of the things we did in our metaverse portfolio during the metaverse upswing, we made a lot of money on that. So that was, and most of those projects are gone now. So you're just taking advantage of the market at the current conditions. That's always what you should be doing anyway. But again, I'm not telling you go invest in these. In fact, don't invest any of them. The key here is hopefully this gets you thinking about how to put your own portfolio together and also put your speculating and your risk level at the appropriate measure for your own situation, because everybody's different. But the last one on here that everybody is going to be surprised about is Cardano. Yes, I put them on the list. And it potentially here for possible swings and positions. And here, listen out for a minute. I'm still not a believer. It's not that I don't believe in what Cardano can do. It's just, again, you know my reasoning. It's very simple, slow. I feel like, yes, I understand the security layer. It looks pretty enticing now because while every other chain is dealing with all these problems, Cardano's over there chugging away. That's great. But where I see Cardano is that we may see some more downside. And if we see more downside, I don't see it going away as a chain. So it's one that I think makes it through, and it might be a good swing trade and or a short-term hold in 2023. I'm just going to play it out. We'll see how it goes. Again, a lot of market manipulation right now out there. We're going to see some pretty heavy situations coming at us in terms of macro pressure and especially around inflation and what the markets will be triggering off of as we start to see the Fed correct and do some other things next year. I'm going to show you a clip here from yesterday's video with Darius Dale. And I just want you guys to listen to what Darius has, because I think this is a really good tip from a guy who advises financial advisors. Think about that for a second. But listen to what Darius had to say.
And I'm talking to the audience here. If you lose money in 2023, it's because you're being ridiculous. You're being rude to yourself. The Fed is tightening. The ECB is tightening. The Bank of Japan is now tightening. The Bank of England is tightening. Every central bank is tightening into an obvious global recession. December 29, 2022 is not the time to be allocating assets on the long side of risk. It's obvious the damage that we're heading into. I know.
All right, so you see what I'm talking about here. What we're rolling into is still a very volatile market. Now, the key here in volatile markets, sure, there's going to be opportunities. So you need to be poised. And dry powder is always the best way to be poised, whether you believe in stable coins or if you just like good old US dollars. Or maybe you're a gold guy. Whatever it might be that you feel is your home base of where you're going to put most of your assets. For me, exiting out of real estate this year, knowing where the top was, understanding that, looking at trying to get as many tax loss harvests that I could take this year, because I felt like this is going to be a year that I needed to do that, and the issue of how we're going to be looking into 2023. Now, Darius and I we didn't argue, but I think we were at different positions. He was still looking at 2024 as being the recovery year. That is possible. And I'm not saying that I would say that he probably is more likely correct than I am. But I look at some of the early moving positions in crypto. If we do see a slight let up on the Fed in the latter half of next year, crypto will be one of the first, I think, to respond. And I think that's when you'll start to see some opportunities. So what I'm asking you guys to do is go do your research right now, because this is the list. It's like your Christmas list. Think of it that way. Put your list together of things you want to hold long term, things you're looking for price entries on, things you might be willing to take a risk on if something triggers a big downside. Any of those kind of moves start to present opportunities. And whether or not your risk tolerance is high, medium, low, whatever it might be, that's when you have to be ready on the sidelines. Because right now, that's where I'm standing, is on the sidelines waiting. The only thing, because I'm not buying anything today, but I'm looking for Bitcoin. I think it's going to start to drop in January. I'm also watching ETH very close, and I'm looking for an entry again on MATIC, because I feel like these are going to be big ones to take off. And then you saw the list there of a lot of others that might play in. And when I say for those are long-term holds for me, because those are scenarios where I'm thinking Bitcoin in 26, 27 to all the way to 2030 of when I might be in and out of that. So just something to think about. We'll get into the poll, and we'll also take some questions over here as well. Let's take a look at the poll real quick. All right, so 2023 crypto for much smaller than last year. Less coins, narrowing the portfolio. That's good. Some people are going out all in. Okay, so for you 36%, guys, let's just say one thing. Slow down. Slow down for a moment and just think about what you said there. I understand you're the degen crowd. I completely get that, guys. I understand that. And to a certain extent, I understand that for you, maybe this is like gambling. It's much like the stock market was this year. I felt like it was like gambling. But I think what you have to do is step back, understand where we're heading. And as we've talked about here on this channel, we are heading into a storm. This is not slowing down in the sense of slowing down in the essence of a downtrend. We're going to continue to see these markets move down. The key here, I think, is going to be the stock market and how it responds to a lot of the pushes from the macroeconomics. We'll have a lot more guys on talking about that in the coming weeks. We've got, who do we have coming up? We've got Ross Gerber coming on the show, talking about Tesla and the stocks. We're going to have, we got a bunch of Bitcoin guys coming on too. I'd love to know from you guys, though, who you think you would love to hear from, both from a macro side. We always get Mark Yusko on, but I'd love to get more. And Darius is a big one, Dr. Bear, which is Dr. Jeff Ross. All those guys do a really good job. But I'd love to, if you have one out there, a macro analyst that you follow, Alf is on our list. Yes, we have the Doom twins, we call them. We get a bunch. So, but I'm always interested in your opinion on who you think are good ones. Let's take a few questions here. And jump in. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Flat Smack saying, yeah, time to admit you're wrong and buy a little gold. I'm not going there. Don't hold gold yet right now. So, but I might one day. You never know. Let's go with Naughty Jackal. Sushi Swap. Yeah. Don't know the keys to Sushi Treasury and the SPF. Yes, I know. But I think this is more of a scenario where I'm going to watch for the fallout on this one. And again, Avalanche, no, I don't think it's dead, coming from Mayonnaise. I don't think it's dead. I think there are some challenges there. The other thing, too, is, again, remember, there's a lot spinning off of the top of Solana right now. That could be devs, it could be assets, VC money. There's a lot that could really reposition in other chains. Avalanche might be there. No, okay. Digital Asset News comes in and says, no ADA. I had it on my list, Rob. I put it on my swing speculation list, but it is a very small option. HBAR and not Phantom. Yes, that is. Yeah, I know. I'm going to go with Hedera on this one. Listen, guys, I'm going to be wrong on a lot of these. Just take that for what it is. It's my money. I get to bet it at the table. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes I'll win more than I lose. But when I do lose, again, it's all in toleration, or what is that? Moderation. It's all in moderation. You don't put yourself in a bad position financially. I never do that. I'm very diversified. It's always the way to go. A good one. Let's go into, man, there's a lot of people jumping on ADA in here. It's not in Simon. Let me go back to that. I don't think everybody saw that. Let me go just back to the list here. Let's go back over here. Yeah, there it is right there. That's my speculating and possible swing positions for next year. ADA is right there. I've got Veracity in there, BNB, AVAX, Quant, Aave, Sushi, Helium, which Helium I just think is an interesting project. They keep doing interesting things, but they're tied to Solana. And that is not in my bag right now. I'm just not there. Now, could I go in if I see Solana go down to, just ridiculous lows? If I see a sub $3 Solana, to me, that's like going to the crap table. I might go jump in that one, for sure. DOT has exited my portfolio this year. It was a sad one to see. I just can't do enough. I can't cover that many tokens, so it's one. AMP is another one that exited my portfolio. I made some money on AMP, though. That was a pretty good one. Eli, listen, I sold my Tesla position in September, thank goodness, and maybe if I see a sub 100 Tesla, I jump in. We'll see. You mixed, okay, unfortunately, you missed the mark on supporting Flex's AMP token. Tyler really outlined the future well. Any thoughts? Okay, so I believe in what Flexa is doing. Flexa, the company, AMP is the supporting token. Flexa has the potential, but they also have not really, outside of Chipotle, the deal that they did with their payment ecosystem with Chipotle, they need more of those. And I think we're going to just have to have more of those for me to say, okay, well, let's re-enter and take a look at these. Listen, guys, the proof's in the pudding. If projects are moving and they are doing real things, not these maybe things, but doing real things, and there's some real things being done right now. It's just a matter of whether they can be the ones who are doing them. Those are the ones I'm watching very close. All right, sub $1 Sol. Ooh, man, that would be a hard one. Let's look here. Doge Nation. Doge, my position on Doge. It's still to me as a meme coin. I just can't. I just can't buy it. It's not real. It's not real to me. I know a lot of will argue that, but it's just for me. Listen, I'm a simple-minded individual. I can't think in like three-dimensional chess at the same time. All right, let's see what else is in here. Let's go to Dominicus. Paul, what are your levels for Gala, and would it be cool if you got to the bottom, and why it was delisted? Listen, Gala is an interesting project. I believe what they're doing in the gaming sector is still intriguingly interesting. I mean, it's got my attention, and it have and will have my attention. They are a channel partner of ours for our Metaverse show. One thing, though, about Gala, I mean, if you look at just the fundamentals and if you think about nodes and the model behind that and how that tokenomics looks, it is not a solid token to invest in. However, when you look at the projects and the game companies and the studios and what they've done over here, it almost counterbalances it. So you kind of have to think outside of the tokenomics and think, well, does this company end up doing something on a huge major partnership that absolutely flips them? Or do they end up as a potential acquisition target? I've often thought that this is a great acquisition target. There's a lot there, I think, with Gala that still plays into. It's not a token that's currently on my list to hold, and it's not a token on my list to trade today. We'll let you guys know. I'll try to, if you want these updates, happy to do these. If you guys like my entry points, all that kind of stuff, jump into our more of our club stuff. You guys had to throw that up on screen. I love it. Yeah, good joke there, Mr. Rob. I appreciate it. We got to get Rob back on the show. He's a character. I love Rob. He's always got good insights, and he always has a really good sense of humor. And that's what you need, guys. Right now, you need a good sense of humor, a steady pulse, and maybe a glass of bourbon tonight or this weekend on the holiday. You guys have a great new year. It's coming up. I think 2023 is going to be an interesting year. I'm not putting it as a winner year for us, but I think you can position yourself to become a winner in 24 by what you do in 2023. So you have to pay attention to what's happening right now. Don't fall asleep at the wheel. Get out there, get some research done, get some education into your soul, and also start to framework your own positioning. And that means businesses, your own jobs, all those kind of things that are the baseline of how you build your financial wealth. You should be working on all those things right now. Yes, you're going to dabble in and out of crypto. Yes, you might buy a stock here on Robinhood and that. That's fine. No problems. Join the Diamond Circle. It's free, and it's a way for us to keep connected. All right, guys, if you want to catch me, it's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.